Well, it's 2021, time to do another wireless gaming headset roundup, shall we? So, good people, going wireless is all about the convenience factor of eliminating the cable clutter with some compromise on audio quality. No wireless pair will sound as good as my Fidelio X3 with the Arc Mark II amplifier in the gaming scenario, but there's only so much bandwidth a wireless signal can carry, so let's be real with our expectations. But having said that, there's so many fantastic wireless options that are still available in 2021, and that's exactly what we're checking out today. And these include the Corsair Void RGB Elite Wireless, the SteelSeries Arctis 7 and the new updated Arctis 9, the HyperX Cloud 2 Wireless, the Razer BlackShark V2 Pro, the mPower Air Wireless 2.4 GHz, the Cooler Master MH670, and the ROG Strix 2.4 Go. The only overlapping pair from our 2018 roundup is the SteelSeries Arctis 7, just because it is still incredibly popular today. So in this roundup, we'll cover comfort, build quality, unique features, battery life, wireless range, common issues, maybe software, and my perceived audio quality per headset based on my own experience. Yeah, this should be fun. Let's begin. Alright, so first of all, this is something we want to do on a regular basis, doing similar roundups every 3 to 6 months depending on the category. I'm sure there are plenty of other wireless gems out there when it comes to audio. So the first thing I want to cover is comfort and build quality, because that's a really important part of the whole convenience factor behind going wireless. Surprisingly, most of these are very well built without any plastic creaking regardless of the bend, and all are comfortable, but two headsets stand out if comfort is priority number one for you. So HyperX Cloud 2 Wireless, I would deem them to be the perfect combination of the right clamping force. It's one of the lightest headsets too, at 309 grams, with deep enough leatherette memory foam ear cushions with interior padding and nice balance between the headband and the size extensions. It's a staple HyperX form and it's working very well. They don't fold on your neck but aren't choking you either, and they're perfectly fine with glasses. The controls are super intuitive, where you activate the 7.1 surround mode with a single click of the power button. There's a mic mute switch here too, and the volume control on the right side. Let's also appreciate the USB-C charging, huh? The second standout pair is the Strix Go 2.4, because it is the lightest headset at 290 grams with comfy ear pads and memory foam. They are more narrow versus all others, but are perfect in clamping force. They fold away on your neck and also into the headset itself, and are totally okay with glasses, but they are also targeted towards like mobile gamers because of their low profile design and general non-gaming vibes from a physical standpoint. Unfortunately, this happened while doing my regular bend test. You can see the ear cup just came out of the socket, something that might actually happen if you're not careful. I was able to put it back in place, but this means that it's the headset that I'd be most worried about in the long term, especially because it's also Bluetooth compatible and therefore good for smartphones. It's not a good sign when a headset designed for on the go does this, because I can imagine the ear cup just popping out if, let's say, you're taking the headset off with just one hand and the whole weight is resting on that joint. That's a big problem. They are super comfortable though, but to be honest, like none of the headsets in this roundup are like extremely uncomfortable or something. Next up, we have the Void RGB Elite, which are very heavy at 390 grams. The clamping force is also very loose, but they fold nicely on your neck and work with glasses. The metal hinges feel robust and size extensions stay in set positions. It's the only pair that looks very outdated because of that angular design in the ear cups. RGB gloss. It also has a non-removable microphone, but it's still one of the best sellers on Amazon. Next up, we have the Cooler Master MH670. They have really nice isolation with deep ear cushions, but they're also on the heavier side at 346 grams, and they can definitely feel a lot of pressure accumulating on top of the headband. This is the only pair I would recommend for larger heads because size extensions are massive. They fold nicely on your neck, and that's appreciated so the mic isn't poking your face, and they pass the glasses test with a nice thumbs up. Next up, we have the SteelSeries Arctis 7. So it's just as I remember it, too small for my head, and the fabric extension piece does not give me any extra room. I've actually told a lot of people to stay clear of this design because it's not guaranteed to fit you if you have a lot of hair or a wide head. They fold on your neck, but in this choking way where the ear cups are pressing into the neck area, and they also don't pass the glasses test because as I move my head, the ear cushions almost like grind against the temple of the glasses and generate unpleasant noises. Furthermore, I really don't like the button layout on the ear cups. For example, the mic mute is way too close to a really loose volume wheel that I guarantee you will brush against. So I was really happy to feel slight frame improvements on the Arctis 9, where the metal headband feels more open and would better accommodate larger heads. Also, when folded on your neck, the ear cups don't choke you this time and feel just right. This also translates into a more comfortable pair for glasses, where the slight reduction in clamping force makes them passable. Furthermore, I appreciate the reconfiguration of all the buttons and dials on the new model, plus a power LED that you don't cover with your finger when turning them on. It flashes white for the USB dongle or white and blue when Bluetooth is active. The mic mute button is also much larger now with an easy to reach volume dial above it. Then we have the cheapest candidate, the mPower Air 2.4 GHz wireless. Very much friends with the OEM of HyperX, but despite the larger ear cushions, both of my ears can feel the internal driver wall. But despite the relatively heavy design at 350 grams, the balance is well distributed, unlike with the Cooler Master pair. They do not fold on your neck. I'd recommend just taking them off completely when not in use, and they pass the glasses test just fine. Obviously, it is the color scheme, the red thread accent on the headband, and the metal hinges that give away similarities to the HyperX frame, but they're probably just using the same manufacturer for these, and also good build quality, and that is a winner in my books. The microphone on the new model is non-removable. I'm fine with that, but the mic mute button is in this really awkward place at the front on the left ear cup. Finally, we have the Razer BlackShark V2 Pro. Overall, a very comfortable design with light clamping force, a light frame at 320 grams. They have enough space for comfortable wear around the neck and have almost the same issue as the Arctis 7, where the padding brushes against the glasses when I move my head around, generating this unpleasant sound that I can hear. Unfortunately, the size extensions are not reliable. I've had so much variability in how they feel, either very good density or with none at all, and that's a major concern. The padding material is also very important to the overall comfort, so half the headsets have that fake leather, while the other half with that more breathable but less pleasant padding. My one complaint when it comes to all the headsets that don't have the fake pleather material on the ear cushions is that this bathing suit material is a bit harsh when it's brushing against your shirt. It doesn't sound good, and it's not pleasant either. While the fake leather material has better isolation, it feels better, but it traps more heat. Keep that in mind. And now to get some basics out of the way. So every headset comes with a charging cable, a USB receiver of some sort, either a simple dongle or an extension, like with both SteelSeries headsets, that even have line out and line in, which is really cool to extend functionality of that receiver base, while the new Arctis 9 has PC or console switch at the bottom and the connect button for the headset just in case. By the way, quick tip, you can hide the USB dongle inside the ear cup like so to avoid unnecessary searching in the future. The Cooler Master pair comes with a USB-C adapter for the dongle. That's pretty cool. The same with the ROG Strix that also comes with a carry pouch. I like the Razer cable the best because they're the soft, flexible kind found on their mice, while the mPower Air even has the analog 3.5mm extension to use the headset in wired mode. Only two in this roundup have USB-C on the headset, so that's the Cloud 2 wireless and the ROG Strix Go 2.4. The rest are micro USB. Every headset has an accessible volume dial. It's just a matter of finger memory of trying to find it either on the left or the right ear cup. I like the Razer dial because it's chunky and right on the side, easy to find, plus there's a tactile center point for precise 50% volume. The Cloud 2 has a really nice and smooth, easy to reach dial. Both SteelSeries pairs have a chat mix on the headset, which is probably one of the biggest reasons why this headset is so popular, letting you control volume balance between the game and voice comms, while the dial on the MH670 is recessed way too much into the frame, making it really difficult to find and actually use. And finally, we have both the Void Elite and the ROG Strix that use this multifunction button for single-step volume control and play-pause functionality. It's also really cool to see all of these have the 3.5mm analog extension available, so you can use them in wired mode, except for the Cloud 2 wireless and the Void Elite RGB. So those are truly wireless and wireless only. All right, so now let's do the microphone test. What you listen to now is that Void RGB Elite. It's weird because it's fairly quiet, even though all the levels are boosted 100%. Weirdly though, it sounds like the microphone capsule isn't like right beside my mouth, but is somewhere else in the headset, which is strange. I do appreciate all the voice commands you hear when the microphone is muted, when you disable or enable side tone, when this thing is going into 7.1 mode versus stereo, when you're powering on the headset or powering it off, when it's trying to find connection. All those things are audible through a voice command, and it's nice. You're not left guessing. Moving up to the Arctis 7, this is also one of the older microphones, and you can clearly hear that there's just so much vocal compression happening, and it's exactly why wireless audio and wireless gaming headsets get bad rep, because of microphones like this. The Arctis 9, I mean, it's slightly more sensitive and more clear, but to be honest, it's not much better versus the Arctis 7. I will have to mention that when you mute the microphone, it does go red, and the red LED is firing right into your face, almost like peripheral vision, but it's a bit too red. And if we unmute, we do have a little beep, and obviously that visual indicator, something that's also available on the Arctis 7. But still, from a vocal quality perspective, there's so much compression happening, it's not good. Moving up the chain to the Cloud 2 wireless. So this one, as you can hear, I mean, it's sensitive enough, but it sounds like I'm under a desk. Why do they all have to sound so bad? It does also have that red mute LED on the microphone. Fortunately, it's not as bright as on the SteelSeries headset, so you can still see it, and you also get a beep in the headset. Now we have the ROG Strix Go 2.4. This is one of the better sounding microphones. As you can hear, it's very sensitive. It picks up my voice clearly. Also keep in mind that noise cancellation is enabled by default. It's good if it's trying to like cancel out the background noise, but it will modify your vocal signature a bit, but still it sounds better than the others. Moving up to the M Power. So this is the cheapest pair in this roundup, and it's also the most sensitive in terms of the microphone pickup, which is good. There's no software, no gimmicks. What you hear is what you get. I really like the sound signature of this microphone. It doesn't sound like it's coming from the bottom of the floor. Moving on to the Razer BlackShark V2 Pro. This one doesn't sound like anything special, to be honest, but it does have cool software tricks up its sleeve. Not only do we have different EQ profiles for the microphone, I like the mic boost. It just brings everything up and still makes it a bit more clear. You can enable noise gate, where it will not pick up certain volumes under a certain threshold. You can do voice clarity, and also noise reduction, which is a bit too aggressive. I like to keep it off. And finally, we have the Cooler Master MH670. So this one is very boomy. It's quite sensitive, but it sounds like the microphone capsule is somewhere in the ear cup instead of being right in front of my mouth. That's disappointing considering their wired microphones on like the MH752, 751 are fantastic. And it's just unfortunate that the wireless signal and all that compression that's happening is kind of destroying the vocal clarity that you should be expecting from this identical microphone. If you mute the microphone, the LED at the bottom will flash red and green. Keep that in mind. If it's blinking and your microphone's not working, you know why. But based on all the ones you heard today, which one sounded best to you? Let me know in the comments. As for battery life, the range here is between 16 hours on the Void Elite and up to 30 hours on the Cloud 2 wireless. All are fairly quick to recharge, between 2 and 3 hours, so that's good in my books, and even at that minimum 16 hours of playtime with the Void Elite, I mean, that's, at least for my gaming style, that's at least 3 days of gaming, so I'm perfectly fine with that. I've been using the Cloud 2 wireless for the last 2 months or so, and that, at 30 hours, you can feel it. I go for like a whole week without needing to recharge it, and it's great. I appreciate the precise battery status on the HyperX software suite as well. The same thing with IQ, but it's in the settings tab and not exactly visible right there. The SteelSeries engine only gives battery bars that I found to be not precise at all. The same with Razer Synapse, because the battery capacity symbol is so tiny, it's useless. There is no battery check on the Cooler Master pair, even though there are drivers for it, while on the ROG Strix headset, there's no way to check the battery capacity, nor is that possible with the MPOW Air, since it doesn't actually come with any software. As for wireless range, the best one goes to SteelSeries in my testing, so both the Arctis 7 and 9 had some form of range 10 meters away from the dongle, with multiple walls in between, experiencing some interruptions and like connection losses, but still being able to deliver some form of audio where everything else would just completely cut off. With the Strix Go 2.4, it was weird because it still reached the same 10-meter distance like with SteelSeries, but it required me to face a certain direction for the signal to reestablish back into the headset. The MPOW Air also had really impressive range. Man, this headset is just overall pretty impressive from everything but sound quality, but we'll get to that in a second. With the MPOW Air at 10 meters, I had range, but whenever I would experience interruptions, my right ear cup would lose audio, while the left one was like really heavily muted. The Cloud 2 Wireless did not exactly have the range of the SteelSeries. At 10 meters, it would not pick up anything. At 8 meters, I would still experience some interruptions, and it would be like a seamless on and off experience. Like if you're in the range, it would start playing music. If you leave the range, it would just completely drop out without even receiving those like really broken packets of audio that you can hear with all other headsets. With the BlackShark V2 Pro, I would experience interruptions in audio at 6 meters, so a lot less range than the others, and it would completely cut off at 8 meters. The Cooler Master MH670 had the worst range. It would cut off the audio just outside my office with the door closed, where all other headsets were playing back just fine, even at further distances. And also, whenever a connection was reestablished, it would take like 3 seconds for audio to start playing back. It's the same story with the Void Elite, so bad range, but when the connection was reestablished, it would play instantaneously without you having to wait as long as you would with the Cooler Master pair. All right, so finally, sound quality. In my opinion, the Cloud 2 Wireless has the best and most neutral sound out of this entire roundup. When you bring up the volume, it brings up everything with good balance. It's not too open soundstage-wise. The highs are smooth, the bass is pleasant and surprisingly deep. The surround mode is done well, expanding the soundstage, giving you a little bit of reverberations, but not aggressive. You don't experience any muffling of the mid-range that you normally would experience with like surround modes in general, but it's actually done very well here. Plus they isolate very well, keeping you in game. The BlackShark V2 Pro is next with a slight V-shaped curve, still a very pleasant sound signature with more dominant bass, but it's actually slightly tighter on the Cloud 2 Wireless. The highs are sharp without introducing any distortion at higher volumes, but I would not consider them to be smooth, right? So walking too much on glass, on factory and EFD would introduce some fatigue, unless you lower the volume or playing around with the EQ in the software. Next up, we have the Cooler Master MH670. These have so much power behind them, more than what I'm comfortable with, even at 50% volume, with a very pleasant, open soundstage, which is kind of cool to experience from a closed wireless headset. The downfall here is the bass. It is very airy, almost non-existent, and the highs are too conservative without giving you the sibilance that you want to hear in competitive environment where you really want those details. I would not use this for competitive stuff, but the sound signature is overall relaxed, good for open world games, especially because of that naturally open soundstage. However, none of the EQ settings that I was playing around with kind of recovered some of that high end that I really want in a gaming headset, but that is just my preference. Otherwise, they will be pretty suitable for most genres of games, unless you're really strictly into FPS. Moving up to the mPower Air. So this one is impressive from all the characteristics in terms of build. The microphone is actually really good and features, but the sound quality here, it is actually the most powerful headset here. At 30% volume, I am completely satisfied. I don't want anything louder, but the highs are slightly harsh and I generally prefer brighter sound, and the bass is almost non-existent. It's very airy, very loose. There's no layering. It's kind of, you just hear this blob of audio without being able to pinpoint what is happening in terms of instruments, in terms of depth. So I played some Sandstorm Insurgency. I couldn't tell what was happening around me in terms of like directional awareness. It's not super bad for like just genres that you want to just chill, but if you want that competitive advantage of understanding the depth and the height of the layering of the audio, I would not recommend these. The ROG Strix was also quite disappointing out of the box. So very flat representation of audio. The mid-range was also quite weird because it sounds like the vocals are outside of the headset and not like you can't really hear where the vocals are placed in the space. Fortunately, there is some potential through the Armory Crate software. So the gaming preset brings everything to life, and the reverb slider is kind of like magic to really carefully expand your soundstage, but still, this would not be my first pick for wireless audio. For example, the hideous Void Elite, to my ears at least, sound a bit more pleasant, with much better mid-range that is more forward, with a lot more detail. The bass here, is also quite loose and airy, but they're quite smooth on the high end. So again, a really relaxed sound signature, quite similar to what we experienced with the MH670. The highs here could use a little bit of boost, but generally I left satisfied after playing some Crisis. The last two pairs here, we have the Arctis 7 and 9. They have very similar sound profiles to each other, leading towards the brighter extension with natural bass response, which is great. It's pleasant across all the games I'm playing right now, but I would still prefer the Arctis 9 because of cleaner and slightly warmer high end. And so if I was to generalize them in tiers, in the first tier, I would rate the Cloud 2 Wireless and the V2 Pro and the Arctis 9. The mid-range would include the Arctis 7, the Strix Go if you tinker with the EQ, and the lower tier would contain that Empower Air, the Void Elite, and the MH670. And finally, after weeks of using all these headsets, testing, retesting, listening to differences between the two, let's talk about the issues, shall we? So the Arctis 9. Some of the issues I've encountered with Bluetooth mode on an Android device is where my right ear cup would like be clicking. If I switch to an iOS device on Bluetooth, the clicking would stop, and there's no clicking when I'm using the dongle. So weird thing that's happening only with Android. Both the 7 and 9 also have really loose volume wheels, making accidental volume adjustments super easy when putting the headset on and off. And the same thing with the chat mix. Like if you can't hear any audio, check your chat mix, please. The USB-C dongle on the ROG Strix Go gets warm when in use, so keep that in mind. Actually, it kind of warmed up my hand when it was plugged into my phone. The ears inside the ear cups do not breathe whatsoever. I had to air them out quite a few times. And also, when the headset goes to sleep, a quick power down and off and on does not actually wake up the headset. You have to physically turn off the device, wait a few seconds, and turn it back on. Only then it will wake up. I've experienced random disconnects with the MH670 while playing around with the software. Like the software would crash, the headset would disconnect from the dongle. I had to replug everything, power this thing back on. Everything was fine after that, but still weird. And finally with the Void Elite, I was listening to music, the battery was completely charged above 70%, and I heard the voice prompt about auto shutdown initiated because of low battery. Everything was fine. It was just giving me the voice prompts without actually shutting down the headset. So I'm not sure if this was an IQ issue or a headset issue. And so that is it, my friends. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully this was clear enough to help you decide on which wireless headset to go and buy for your future needs. The Cloud 2 Wireless is still my #1 recommendation, and the Empower Air. I mean, regardless of the lack of layering, thank you very much, and I'll talk to you in the next video.